Okay, welcome to Chapter 5, or I'm sorry, Chapter 6, and we're going to get into basically the kind of the inner workings, the nuts and bolts of images. Um, the first thing that this chapter talks about says images made the web boom. In the early days, World Wide Web was about colleagues sharing scientific papers and written into text, blah, blah, blah. So when we needed to add these images, and we basically then had this new IMG tag. And so that's kind of the standard for putting images on your website today. So the first thing we talk about though is the depth bit or bit depth of a web image. And as we can see here, a 1-bit image has just 2 levels of colors. So we basically have black and white, and we just have a bunch of dots in here that that form this picture. And then we can then go to a 2-bit image. We get a little more grayscale in there, probably a black, white, and then probably a gray tone. And if we zoom in to that 2-bit picture, we can see that it's pretty grainy. And then we get into another 4-bit image that is more grayscale, and we can see there instead of the dots, we basically have it more blurred together. The dots are more, but again, we only have 2 colors that we're basically dealing with. So we call it posterization and dithering. When an image contains only a few colors, a choppy visual effect is called posterization. And the adjacent colors can then be seen. So if we can see in this picture 6.4, we can actually see that, you know, we got this blue sky in the background. It kind of goes from light blue to dark blue. But with the posterization, we have less colors. We can see that we see distinct separation of colors. So there is no gradual getting from light to dark. It's basically, boom, there's a line and there it is. We can see 8 levels of color in a posterized 3-bit image, and here is 8 levels of color in a dithered. Now dithered means that we can actually take this from a 24-bit color to an 8-bit color, from a 16-bit color, and that's called dithering. Here's 16 levels of color, so this is 16 level dithering, and that's a 4-bit posterized, and here is a 16 level dithered, okay? And here is a 32-bit or a 5-bit image with 32 levels of color, which is non-dithering basically. And then we have 256 different colors in here as well. So if we look at this 32-bit color, we can actually, if we look real close, we can see separation of colors. When we get here to the 256, it's really hard to see the separation of colors. But what does that cost you when you have that many colors, or non-dithering and non-posterization? Well, we're going to have that file is going to be a lot bigger, so it's a lot more space taken up. And as a web page designer, one of the things we always need to be worried about is how fast our web page comes up. So if we have a bunch of high resolution big files, big images on our website, yeah, that can really slow that down. And that's one thing we kind of want to stay away with. So this chapter is about where do we find that medium ground where we can get a good picture, but it's not too big that it doesn't, you know, so it's kind of a double-edged sword. So a 1-bit, 2 colors, that was first seen in our Atari STs. Our 2-bit, 4 colors were in our early Macintoshes. We started getting the 4-bit, 16 colors with our Commodore 64s. 8-bit, 256 was the Apple II and Super VGA. 15-bit, 32,768 was our Sega, our first Sega games. We got into HD TV, was a 32-bit, and then 4 billion different colors that were combinations. Windows 7, and then we basically are into this 48-bit, and we are in the, what is that, million, billion, trillions, basically over a quarter of a trillion different types of colors in that in one different application. But again, how much space does that take up? So for example, if you were to take a picture with your cell phone, your smartphone, you'll notice you can take it as a high res, kind of a medium res, low res, and again, the picture just gets smaller each time you take it. And again, the bigger the picture is, the more detail, the more we can zoom into that picture and kind of see what's going on. So the first thing we need to do is actually check our website speed. How fast is our website going? Well, one place we can go to is this web page test, and there's a link to it right here. And if I click on it, well, this is a Google Analytics kind of the global speed overview. So this kind of gives us an overview of the speeds that people kind of how long will a person wait on your website and that type of thing. What we're looking at though is where is it? There it is. It's the Mobi Test, aka mai.com. If we click on that, we can actually put in a website. Okay, so I can actually put in my personal website. And I'll put that in, and what do we want to test it on? Well, we can test it on some different phones here. So let's try a Galaxy S5 Chrome on AT&T, which is a cell, or we can do it over Wi-Fi. The location is here, and we have to say we're not a robot to make sure that this is not a particular test. And then we click on the run over here. Okay, so I paused the video because it literally took about 4 minutes for this report to basically be generated. And so here is my website. This is what it would look like on a mobile phone. It says that your website's average load time was 3.17 seconds. The average per page size was 553 kilobytes, just a little over 553 kilobytes. So I come down here and I can actually see this report, and it will give me detailed information by page, by graphic, how long it took to load, so on and so forth, and it will actually tell us why it took that long for that page to load. So very good information that we can utilize to make sure that our web page is being loaded properly and fast enough for the average user. Because we have found out that in the company I work for that people wait about 2.5 seconds is about as much as they wait for a page to load. That's on average. So really good information that we have available to us out there in order to really get a feel for our web page and how it's going to be utilized. What's nice, get some information at the bottom of the page here. It says the average web page has grown 20% in just the last 6 months. And kind of gives some other great scenarios as well. And again, here is what they call the waterfall view. Again, we just saw that on mine where it kind of goes through, and we can see that this page here only loads in looks like just under a second. So that was a pretty good page. Okay, so another thing we can do is look at the quality of the images. Again, we talked about the lowering the bits or using posterization or dithering. Well, when we do that, if we zoom in on the picture, we can really see that we just do not have the detail we need. Now, the thing about like this picture right here is if we look at that, we can actually see it really looks terrible. But if I were to zoom out, that picture looks beautiful. So the point I'm trying to make is, depending on how big the picture is going to be, you never want to take an image file and put it out there and make it bigger than it is. You're going to lose a lot of detail. But it's great to take that picture and put it out there and then change your width and your height of it to make it smaller. You're going to really tighten up the detail there and make that picture really look nice. So that's kind of the comparison they're trying to show here, is that I don't want to do that. Is that we can actually make that a high quality. So if we take a look at this, it's kind of hard to see, but the lines aren't as sharp, but they're a little sharper over here. This is a JPEG and this is a GIF. okay, or say a GIF file. I will talk about how to pronounce it here in a little bit. And this is a GIF and this is a JPEG. What's wild is we got like Minecraft and some of these crazy games. We're going actually back to the old 8-bit type of graphics that I had, I should say my kids had to grow up when they first had computer games. And so here's a 1986 Legend of Zelda 8-bit graphic, and here's 5 years later, 1991, the sequel Legend of Zelda, a 16-bit graphic. So as you can see, we really don't have any shading. We really don't have much of kind of a going from one color to the next or different shadings of colors, because again, we only had 8-bit graphics. Now we're down to 16-bit, and it really made the world of difference. In an 8-bit world, we wouldn't have these dark blues. We just have water that is blue, and that would pretty much be it. So we talk about raster image formats. The basic raster image format has been a part of the desktop experience for several years. Thankfully, browsers have adopted more than robust image formats over time. Many formats have come and gone, but there are just a few we deal with basically in our day in and day out world, and those are GIFs, PNGs, and JPEGs. Okay, and JPEG can either be JPEG or it can be just JPG. They're both the same exact file. So GIF formats. The graphics image format, or GIF, was developed by CompuServe in 1987. It is an indexed bitmap format, meaning that it uses a fixed list of colors. So basically what they've done with the GIF is they've already said, here is the colors you can use, and that's it. The GIF employs a variable 8-bit format, which uses 8 bits per pixel and 256 or fewer colors in the image. So as we can see, it's not going to give us a whole lot of detail. This type of file is well suited for an average with limited color palette. On the other hand, it's not a good choice for displaying more complex images like a photograph. So we probably want to stay away from GIFs in that type of a scenario. A GIF file uses lossless compression. This is very important. Lossless compression says when we resize this picture, let's say we made it smaller and then we resized and make it bigger, it doesn't lose any of the data. That's called lossless. We also have what's called lossy. Lossy does do that. When we make a picture smaller and we make it bigger, it loses some of the data. However, there are tricks to know about GIF compression. Compare two GIF images, one with horizontal line patterns, the other one with vertical line patterns. Okay. It says the image with the horizontal stripes is smaller, it's 1.4K, than the one in the vertical stripes, which is 10 kilobytes. While GIF does not provide lossless compression, the real file size savings in using the GIF is for flat areas where there aren't many horizontal changes in color. So what they're saying is when we have to go up and down, that's where GIFs really have to work hard. When they do not have to work hard at all. They have to work harder. So a GIF is used to basically like how we read. We start the top line, we go across, we drop down line, we go across. Well, that's basically what they're saying here is when it has to come down and it has to deal with this vertical, it has to work a lot harder, so it basically has to put more time and effort into it. So guess what? It's going to be a bigger file. Steve Wilhite, the creator of the GIF at CompuServe, says the name with a soft G like giraffe. You can find more in the image. So basically what they're saying is he calls it a GIF. A lot of people call it GIFs, so, or GIFs, whatever you want to call it. So while the Internet Explorer and Firefox dropped their support, Safari still supports XMB and XPM formats. The image formats aren't popular and don't compress as well as GIFs or JPEGs, so we probably won't use them. If you're the type of person who wants to dive deep into the image formats, you can actually go to these two websites and basically look at the XPM and the XMB. So the next format we'll talk about is JPEGs when we come back. So we'll see you here in a little bit.